Are there any additions or changes to the agenda?
No, sir.
We need a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed the same? So the motion carries. Item 3, review and approve the minutes from the December 9th, 2015 meeting. Any questions on those? If there are no questions, I need a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second,
Second.
all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed the same? The motion carries. Item 4, the financial reports.
I'll go over this while you look through the bills and stuff. Shelley and I were comparing a little bit today. Fiscal 16 back against fiscal 15. I'm by the paper here. If we look back to December 14 and put it against December 15, operating general fund last year at the end of December had a balance of $562,604. This year at the end of December we have a balance of $1.156 million. Management, now we have a balance of $136,641. Last year we had a balance of $152. We're still sitting fine in that. Pepple had a balance of $588,481 this year. Last year had a balance of $508,742. 1 cent sales tax has a balance currently of $429,469. Last year we had a balance of just over $1 million, but we've had several big projects come through there. We're still at a balance of over $1 million between our Pepple and our 1 cent sales tax, so we're fine. Nutrition fund this year has a balance of $60,325. Last year had a balance of $85,898. But we've already paid the $23,000 back that was left on the loan that was done at some point in the past.
And the first loan wasn't out of that.
And the first loan wasn't out of that either last year, so. And that went back to the general fund. Activity fund has a balance of $166,563. Last year at this time it had a balance of $294, but some of that was the track money that was for the track project. So we're sitting pretty good in all our balances. The other one I wanted to talk about a little bit. Let's see. General fund cash flow. Our expenditures to date, we're at about 39% out of the general fund. Last year, I think we were at like 46% or something like that. I looked and I can't remember what it was. Our revenue at this point, we've gotten in about 47%, almost 48% of our state taxes and stuff. So right now it's looking like we're sitting fairly well. Shelley and I have gone back and we've looked, and then I also got some information from the Department of Management last week that Shelley's numbers were right on when we projected what our unspent balance was at the end of fiscal 15, and that is $281,949. Right now with our projections at the end of this year, we're looking at that being somewhere between $400,000 and $500,000 most likely, depending on how things flow through the end of the year. You know, we're still looking at being fluid with that, and I think that's being on the cautious side. So,
Sounds good.
and then, you know, the future beyond that depends on kind of where our enrollment falls next year. Fiscal 17 right now, our initial projections are somewhere unspent balance between $800,000 and $1 million, and that's right where we need to be. That would be 10 to 15% of our total budget.
Has the legislature said anything for our budget yet for this next year? I know they've been talking about it. Have they decided anything?
Right now, the last I heard today is that they've had some of the committee meetings already. The Senate passed last year and left it sitting on the House floor for a 4% increase on SSA, and the House has amended that back down to 2%, and they're in conference committee negotiating that right now. The governor has put out 2.45%. if I was a gambling man, I would say that the Republican side is going to use Brandstad's attack on the 1 cent sales tax as a negotiating tactic. I would guess that we'll probably end up losing some of our sales tax after 2017 to the water quality in order to get 3%. That would be my best guess of what's going to happen. And right now they're looking at taking 3/8 of that sales tax after 2017, and it gets to be a pretty good chunk of money, except they have allowed for our side of the sales tax to grow by $10 million a year. So we would continue to grow that as far as all the schools in the state. It's just a matter of
How
if
can they do
keeps
that
up
with
with.
sales tax money though, because that was voted on by the counties originally?
It was originally, but then it went statewide. And it was, when I think it was 2007 that it went statewide, or 2009. And that took it away from the county votes, and now it's a statewide thing. And I go back to what Representative Grassley said in our legislative forum, you know, that some of the promises that they've made in the past to get it to 2029, I think there's gonna have to be a lot of negotiating with people to get that through. Brandstad has proposed extending it to 2049, which gives us more than the 20 years that where we need to be if we wanna do the revenue bonds. It's just a matter of how much we would get. And
Right, how much they take off for water quality.
yes, and right now, there's a lot of people talking about the economy tanking here in the near future too. So with gas and oil prices doing what they're doing, there's some questionable mortgages going out again, and the federal government's buying those. So they're talking about another housing bubble crash, and so you know, I'm not too confident as to what the economy's going to do over the next 16, 18 months. So it'll be interesting to see where things go.
Hi, Christie.
Hello.
Any questions on the financial reports? If not, we need a motion to approval.
Make a motion to approve the financial reports.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Any public items of discussion, Ms. Noel? Board items of discussion, board learning video.
I think we need to skip the video tonight. The agenda got kind of long, and we have the workshop. It's about 12 minutes long. I will send you guys a link to it, and then we'll try to get it on the agenda for next month. But I think with everything that's kind of jumped on the agenda over the last week, that we need to forego that for tonight.
Fair enough. So we'll move on to item B, the update on the bonds and types of bonds.
I just want to put this on here because of the letter to the editor that was in the paper last week. I think Liz did an excellent job of describing it in her rebuttal. So would you like to kind of lead us through that? Or would you like me to?
It doesn't matter, you
Or-
can.
Okay, and then jump in if you want to say anything. There was some question in the letter to the editor that ran in the Butler County Tribune last week about paying off the bonds that we had discussed at last month's building, or at last month's board meeting. The bonds for the old Allison Bristow district, which now all the debt has become North Butler debt, were revenue bonds that were taken out, I believe, in 2007 or 2009 to do some roof repairs here. The revenue bonds, we have, I think, 2 payments left, or 2 years of payments left, something like that. And it totals out to being roughly $180,000 or $160,000, somewhere in there. And if we paid it off now, we'd save about $6,500 in interest. So that's why it was brought to the board. The bonds on the old Green District, which is now North Butler High School, junior, senior high, that is a general obligation bond. That was voted on by the residents of the traditional Green District. In order to change that now, it would take a supermajority vote of the entire school district. I don't think that that's something that we want to take on right now with the hard feelings that have been over the last year with closing the building. I think we need to let things settle. We still are buying down that debt by $200,000 a year, so the residents, the actual old historical Green District are only paying $76,560 some or something like that out of property taxes of the $276,000 payment a year. So the difference in property taxes is about 40 cents a year per $1,000 of valuation. So I will we'll talk about it in the work session later, but if the board wants me to bring the bonds back next month to pay off so we can save the interest on them, I'll do that. And then there might be some projects that we want to talk about, the possibility of revenue bonding in the future too. So we'll talk about the roof project and that, but we have a couple of sections of roof at the high school that need to be addressed. And right now, we're looking at about $15 a square foot from the conversation I had the other day with a representative of a company. And so just the two big areas right now that are the major concern is about a $300,000 project.
So how many square feet are you looking at?
Right now, 20,000.
20,000, okay.
So whether we want to do more than that or just that or what, we'll talk about all that when we go through the list of projects in the work session. So there's some other things that we could, if we wanted to bond that, and then just, make payments over 20 years, then we could add the roof in and do more of the roof or do some other projects too. So we'll talk about that later. But that's just a quick update on the different types of bonds and because of the questions that came up last week.
And I think the main confusion was the bonds that were taken out on this building, all money comes from taxes. That really comes from the revenue bonds, and it's not really a burden on property tax
Right.
owners.
We pay that out of either the Pepler or
Right.
1 cent sales tax.
So
it's all
by
our
paying that
infrastructure
down,
tax.
it's not like the community of Allison has a change in their property tax
Right.
or
Right.
anything like that. It's not one community versus another. It would benefit the school by paying off the revenue bond. Where the general obligation bond, the community of Green voted on it, accepted it, and agreed to pay out the property taxes for the high school building. So it's not anything against either community or
Right,
anything like
and
that.
I think the other thing that if we were to pay that off early, what that does is it frees us up to take out revenue bonds again if we have another project that we don't want to just throw all our 1 cent sales tax or Pepple money at a couple of big projects right now. So we still have a nice pot of money sitting there over $1 million, but we need to look at what we want to do and how we do it. There's a couple of different types of revenue bonds too. There's the regular revenue bonds, and then there's what are called QZAB bonds, which is qualified zone approval bonds or something like that. And what you do is you mark out like your high school building, and you're gonna improve the facilities there. So we use those where I was at before too. We roofed the building. We took a storage space and turned it into a life skills classroom. We put up some fencing, and it was $1 million that we used to improve our facilities. And then when we ran out of other projects, they allowed us to change our application and buy some technology stuff out of it. So the roof job originally was supposed to be $1 million, and it came in at $465,000. So we were able to change that application and reapply that money elsewhere. And then the payment, I think, was $56,000 a year over 20 years. So you do get $1 million worth of bonding done for a very small payment. That's the benefit of that, and then you don't have to ask your community to raise taxes. Which we're going to have to raise property taxes just a little bit this year to participate in the budget guarantee program.
Any other questions on the bonds? Okay. Mr. Huff, your presentation?
We thought since that we'd spent the $100,000 on the video surveillance system that you guys would like to see how it works. So Mr. Huff's kind of become our local expert on it. We did buy new computers both here and at the high school, and Mrs. Wedking and Mr. Huff both have a 32-inch monitor on their desk because it makes it easier to see. And then Eileen at the high school also has a new PC under her desk there, and she has, I think it's like a 42-inch monitor on the wall there. It lets the kids are well aware that we're watching them now. I've heard several kids standing out there, and I think it was last week, one day there was one of the high school girls out there, and she says, "You guys can see that? Oh, look at that, look what those guys are doing." So they know they're there. And we're working on, Mr. Huff's been working with them, and Mr. Thompson's working on getting our switches opened up so that the sheriff's office will have access, and then we would have access through an app that we can put on our phones, which is really handy at 3 o'clock in the morning when the security company calls and says, "Hey, you got an alarm going off, do we need to send the police?" So
This is going to be real brief. You've probably seen these before. I think there's about over 40 cameras on the inside and then on the outside of the building here. You can set up as many different views. Okay, I want to have one that's kind of focused on the cafeteria area. You can have maybe one picture on a screen. You can have up to 30 on a screen, whatever you want to do. Right now, these are all live. Right here, if you can see this in the green, it says live. There's not any of them that appear to be recording right now. A little thing would pop up and say recording. These things monitor 24/7. They only record if they detect motion. Like that one right there, it's what the tank says recording. Okay, this here, they're walking. If I want to click on that, I go right to that right there, and she's our star of the day. So, if you can zoom with these, okay, I'm now just seeing the floor, but if I've got a little guy over here, I can kind of do that. Like anytime you zoom, sometimes the quality, it gets a little hazy. I want to go out of that, back to normal view. There's that. Double click, now I'm back to this view. Neither of us, we're just beginning to, what do we need, what do we want to view? Anytime you set these up, from what I'm told is, and it makes sense, is after you get all your cameras up, you say we need here, 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 and then you start looking at them and you go, you know what, that one needs to be adjusted, 2 millimeters to the left. This one here doesn't get us anywhere, can we move that one to here? So this summer we will be, trying to calibrate, maybe move some around. They're pretty good right now. This is a pretty good one Amy has here set up. Okay, this would be, it's going to be dark. I don't know, dark out? But this is, you see the little walkway from the back of the building to the art built room. This apparently is, you can see these playground views here. Maybe you want to see what's going on out there. Maybe something happened on the playground. You may be able to go back and say, I wonder what happened. So did he fall off? Was he pushed off? Did he slip or did something else happen? You can go into a playback mode. Okay. And then I can click on it. Let's say we're on today. I want to go. Hard to see from here. I want to go. What time would recess have been?
10:30, all down in here.
Where they are? Yep. And then you see where it red. You see that's where some recordings took place. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
you should be able
early.
to start anytime with that.
So did they go outside for recess today, do you know?
They sure did.
Okay, would they have been in that area is the question. 10:30, we're saying.
You're at 12:30. You're at 1 o'clock. It was back here where you were.
Okay, it says 9 a.m. but maybe, when did you change the time?
Yesterday.
Fifth and sixth grade.
It might have been, there might have been a class going to art. That might be what it's, I don't know which camera you're set on. This one? This one you might
It's all
always-
of them. It's
Oh, okay.
That's all one camera. It's just a 4 view, so it all work together.
But I think you're focused on this
yeah, it
one.
looks like there's, but that's the only one recording right now is what that means. So it should be looking at all these. Anyway, we could go back to, I'm going to try.
I think if you click on one camera and make it big, you'll be able to see when that exact camera was
Okay.
recording. And then you'll be able to
Is this a
look on
place
it.
where kids would have played?
No, go back.
Okay.
Not a good picture.
This here?
Try preschool.
Okay. When might they have been? Not at 3 a.m. obviously. I think I could type in a time there if I wanted to
Yeah.
right now. I'm just trying to get to the part where there's red.
No, there's not gonna, I wonder if preschool didn't go out tonight. Try blur here and see what that is. I don't know, it's probably a squirrel running across. No, not much there.
Anyway,
Yeah.
we're learning how to, and we have some people we can call if we really said, hey, we need to go back in time and look at something. This one, it doesn't look like there was
Yeah, that
much
must not
action.
be.
Well,
I
here's a
would-
big spot right here.
There was no preschool today.
Oh, it's Wednesday. I'm like, oh, I thought everybody went out, but it is Wednesday. Thank you. But that would be like a first grade recess probably in here, so.
And the nice thing is that if something happens, we can go in and click and we can download it to like a zip drive or a CD. If the sheriff's office needed something, like somebody broke in, we'd have that view so we could take it and record it and give it to the sheriff and they could watch it over there. Or once they have access, we should be able to just send it to them and then they'd be able to play it back.
Does an alert go off, like for them at all? Like if there's something?
No. Usually if we would notice something was wrong if the cameras were froze or if they were black and not showing anything.
I usually right click it and I set the time.
The cameras that we have outside are really good about pulling in lights, so even at night you'll be able to see some stuff.
Well, then we're back to live here. It's still, even though it's dark, you can still kind of see some stuff. We got different views. We can make it full screen. Bring it back.
In the elementary, I use it mostly for playback. Because our kids are guided most of the places they're going. You know, a teacher's walking them often to music or to PE or whatever, but it's once in a while when, you know, if there's horsing around at the lockers when the last 3 kids are getting their boots off or things like that, if there's something that I can go back and look. A teacher says, oh, I know it happened around 10:15 because they were at the end of the line. I was near the beginning. I didn't see it. Those kind of things is what I use it for most of the time.
You can also obviously see, this is called carousel, where it just kind of rotates between whatever cameras you select for these different views. You can set how much time you want them to rotate every, 2 seconds, every minute, whatever you can do. At the high school, Eileen sits right here, and there's one right up there that she can set to the exits of the building, the entrances to the building. She's got 8 or 10 views. Okay, now I want to look at hallways during the day. So she's working there. She can glance up. It's pretty handy. And I think we're eventually trying to get one of these set up so that Jody Tanner would be able to see it too. I think. So that's that. Any questions? Any? Again, there's some capabilities Joel had talked about that we want to get up and running as well. So, thank you.
Yep, thank you. Okay, Mrs. Clark.
Yeah.
Second time today.
Okay, Mr. Huff asked me to just put something together to kind of inform the school board and community members about some of the options that we have at the high school for students to earn college credit. So I put a little PowerPoint together. Next one. PSEO, that is one of our most popular options, and that's a post-secondary enrollment option. So 11th and 12th grade students and any students who are identified as tag students, as freshmen and sophomores, are allowed to take college courses. These courses are dual enrollment, so they get credit for high school and college. So that applies to their graduation requirements. If they take a math class at NIAC, that can count for one of their years of math at North Butler. The school pays the eligible post-secondary institution for the cost of the course, which is $250 or whichever is lower. So some of the courses may not be that much, so our district would not be charged the full $250. If the student successfully completes the course, the cost is paid by the district. Otherwise, the student is responsible for paying for that. NIAC does loan textbooks to our students, so there's not a burden of textbook costs. If any of you have been in college lately, you know how ridiculous the price of books are. So that's a great thing that our students can take advantage of.
And one nice thing about the PSEO is, like, we had a kid that, as a senior, knows that they're going to go to Kirkwood or to Iowa Central or that. They can do the PSEO through those too. We're not locked into our region on the PSEO classes. They can take it through any institution in the state that participates in the program.
Go to the next one. Contracted courses, those are another option. They are provided to students through an agreement between NIAC or whatever college and the student's school district. The district determines the college courses that they want to offer. And currently we have, I believe, just 2 contracted courses. We have college composition 1 and 2, and then we have our ag courses that are taught on campus. Career Link is another one that we're starting to see more students involved in. It's a great opportunity for them. They also are dual enrollment. They are free to the students if they pass the courses. It's a good way for them to explore a career and strengthen their skills in a certain area that they might be looking at. They can gain hands-on experience and build confidence and skills for college. And this slide shows some examples of that. In the last 4 years, we've had several students take advantage of the automotive and diesel programs. They go to NIAC in the mornings, and then they come back to North Butler 6th, 7th, and 8th hour. At the end of their senior year, they have 1 year completed in the program of a 2-year degree. So when they leave our school, they have 1 year left, and they will have their 2-year degree completed. The only cost to the students are transportation, obviously, and tools. And the tools are quite expensive in that. So they don't really have a lot of textbooks that they have to worry about, but tools are a thing that if they spend the money on them, they'll last them a long time. Building trades, we have not had any students in that, but we do have a junior who is signed up for it for next year as a senior, and that is only a 1-year program. So when he finishes at North Butler next year, he will have to finish up just 1 or 2 courses in the summer, and he will have his building trades degree within a couple of months after he graduates. Welding, again, we haven't had anyone. We have 4 students, on the list for welding. They will go in the morning. All these students will go in the mornings, take their courses, and then come back to North Butler to do government, PE, and probably an English course. Welding has a 1 or 2 year program, so I have 1 student who's decided to do the 1 year program, so he will be finished actually a week before he graduates from North Butler with his welding certificate. The other students decided to do the 2 year program, so they will go back for another year. There's also tool and die. We have not had anyone in there, but that is an option. Information systems technology, climate control, agriculture. We have courses that are offered. The contracted courses that Mr. Hansen teaches at the high school. He has Animal Science 1 and Agronomy. Those are part of the agriculture degrees, but they are not the whole program. Hopefully someday we can get to that. Business administration is another option in human services. And then we have teacher education. We have had students every year since I've been the counselor take intro to teaching, and there's another media class. So they can get 7 credits done in their teaching core classes. And one of the neat things about that is the first year that I had a student in that, her whole entire life she wanted to be a teacher, and as a junior she signed up to take intro to teaching. And about 3 or 4 weeks into the class she came to me and she said, "Mrs. Clark, this is not for me." So I was so happy that she figured that out while she was still a high school student. She didn't pay for the course, it was an option that she had at our school, and she realized that that wasn't for her. So she made a better choice once she went to NIAC, and she went into court reporting, and she absolutely loves it. So that's another way to look at it. It's not just to set your career, but maybe figure out what you don't want to do. Okay, along with the PSEO, like I said, they have to be juniors or seniors or be identified as tag students. And the freshmen and sophomores are allowed to take 1 course per semester. I like to ease them into that. That's kind of our rule. It's not a NIAC rule necessarily. For NIAC, they are only allowed to take 24 credits in 1 year. If they take more than that, then they have to pay it. It's self-pay. And I have had students do that. They choose to take a class in the summer, which we do not cover summer courses anyway. And that's their prerogative. If they want to get ahead, they're welcome to do that. Some courses have prerequisites. For example, they might have to take another course or have to have a certain test score. For math and English courses, almost everything requires either an ACT score, a pre-test, or a COMPASS score. Courses are dual enrollment, so grades affect the North Butler Honor Roll, GPA, and class rank. So if they get if they're a straight A student and they take a NIAC course and they get a B in it, they're gonna lose their 4.0, which is not necessarily a bad thing because they're taking a college course and they're getting ahead, so. Students who fail a course or who drop a course after the prorating begins must reimburse the North Butler School District. So I have a schedule of when courses have to be paid if they drop past a certain deadline. Usually the first week of the semester, they can drop anytime during that week. Then after that, it's a certain percentage of the total of the course that they would have to reimburse. Students can earn 1 North Butler credit per class. Most of the courses that our students take are 3 credits for college, but they just get 1 credit for North Butler. More than half of the courses taken by North Butler students are completed online, and other courses are taken face-to-face at North Butler or through the ICM. Okay, these are some statistics that I put together. This past fall here, we had 62 PSEO courses registered by 30 students. So it was an average of 2 courses per student. Some took 3, some took 1. That was just an average. Our Career Link students, we had 2 in the Automotive Systems Technology program, so they had 4 courses each. So that was 8 of those 62 courses. 4 courses were dropped. At the beginning of the semester, students just figured out, I don't think I can handle this, my schedule's too full, this is not what I was thinking, whatever. 3 courses were not passed by the students, so they do have to reimburse this district. And then 55 courses were passed, 55 North Butler credits were earned. I guess I didn't figure out how many NIAC credits that would be, but most of those were 3 credit courses, so well over 100 college credits were earned by North Butler students this past semester. And currently for this spring semester, we have 46 courses registered by 32 students. We do have 8 students that are graduating early. I believe all but one of those had taken NIAC classes last semester, so that's a big reason why there's a drop in that. Some facts: between 50 and 75% of North Butler High School graduates have earned some college credits prior to graduation. And it really depends on the class. Some students are more interested in that. I feel that next year's seniors will be much higher than that because I have 6 of those kids taking the Career Link programs. And those kids may not have chosen to take a PSEO class at all. Most of those students have earned 6 or more credits. And we had one North Butler graduate last year that had 41 college credits when he graduated from North Butler. And he started as a 2nd semester sophomore at his current college. Okay, how do students sign up? Meetings are held in the fall and spring for information regarding PSEO. I usually do it about a week before the schedules are released, just so students can become aware and get some information. The registrations open in October and March for the following semesters. Last year we held an informational session for students and parents. It was the first time that we tried that. It wasn't real well attended, but I think the more we do it, the better attended it will be because people will realize that, hey, I can go and get some information. So I was happy with the turnout that we did have, and I expect it to be more every year. This year, NIAC representatives will be here during parent-teacher conferences for NIAC on the road. That's the Tuesday night of conferences in May. They're starting a new thing that they want to get out to the schools and get to meet some parents and get some information out there so they can answer some questions one-on-one. A lot of times I get the questions, and most of the time I know the answers, but not always. So it's going to be nice to have them there so parents can get immediate feedback. Registrations are accepted based on a first-come, first-served basis for students who have completed any or all possible prerequisites. Students may be placed on a wait list before being registered for a course. They tend to allow current NIAC students to fill the spots before high school students. And oftentimes, if we have 3 or 4 students on a wait list, they will open up another section if there's enough need from other school districts as well. We had an additional section of Intro to Psychology and an additional section of Public Speaking opened up for this current semester. And part of that was based on the need from North Butler. Other information can be found at the NIAC website, and all registrations must be completed through me. Final thoughts. I think it's a great opportunity for the right students. Some students really take advantage of this and they go to town. They're very successful. Other students, if try to take an online class, if they're not real good at technology or if they're not self-starters, then they really struggle. So I try to talk to them about that a lot before they sign up, especially if it's their first time. If they've taken them before and they've been successful, I don't have a problem with that. But it's not right for everyone, but I think it is a great opportunity that we're able to offer for our students. Any questions?
I'd just like to state that I've taken quite a few classes this way since my sophomore year actually. I've taken them through the ICN, I've taken them online, I've taken them face to face, and they really are such a great opportunity. The professors that we get to teach our classes are extremely talented professors. And all the classes are a ton of fun to take, and it's just really a great opportunity for students to kind of explore what their interests are, and also to learn a lot. And it's so great actually to me that it's a free opportunity for students.
For some kids, it's the only way they get to experience college classes, because if they don't get the experience in high school, there's probably no way that they're going to be able to go after high school. So I think it's a good program.
And the Career Link programs especially, I mean, that's one of my main things. I love working with the students that are interested in industrial and ag programs. Since I became the counselor, I've taken students on field trip after field trip to NIAC, trying to get them interested in something. And I know college isn't for everyone, but when I take students over there, and I'll never forget, I had a student who graduated last year. When he was a freshman, the whole bus ride to NIAC, he told me, I'm too dumb to go to college, I'm never gonna go to college. And when we came home, he said to me, you know what, maybe I can do that. And he's at NIAC right now in one of the industrial programs. So I feel like that was a success story. And there's another student who will be a senior next year that had the same attitude as a freshman, and he signed up for the welding program next year. So they actually get to see that, yes, I can do that. You know, this hands-on, it's not all the book work, writing papers and that kind of thing. There is some of that for some of those courses. They still have to take a math class, they still have to take an English class, but it's something that's geared more toward that career. They're not writing 30-page research papers. They're reading a manual on how to put together a piece of equipment, something that they're actually going to use in life. And I think they see that, and it's a great benefit.
And NIAC has really made a dedication of themselves to those programs. They've built a new diesel shop, and they've got one person that oversees the whole vocational program, and you know, they've come down and talked to us, and they're reaching out to the high schools trying to get kids involved in this because they see the need. So that's a really good thing.
One of our students who took the diesel program as a senior got a job at McRoberts in Green, started working there while he was going to NIAC. They paid for his second year of college if he promised to work there for 5 years. I think he's on his third year now, and he's aiming for management in that company, so he just absolutely loves it. Didn't have to pay one single penny. They paid for his tools and everything. All he had to do was pay for his gas. Okay. Thank you, Mrs.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Clark. Okay, our bus lease to LSB.
I was approached by Bill Dolan last fall about the possibility of moving the bus lease to LSB. Some of the stuff didn't get on here because I didn't get it till late yesterday. But basically the lease would stay the same, but the rate would come down just a little bit. LSB's rate was 2.35%, so we just need to decide if we want to switch the lease over to LSB or leave it where it's at, which is with like Bank of America or Daimler Chrysler or something. Mercedes.
Is that a fixed rate then?
Yes.
Was there like administration fees, closing costs and all that in there?
He didn't say.
He didn't say. And I couldn't get the actual paperwork that he gave me last fall to come up. It was locked and disappeared after 90 days, and it wasn't on the paperwork that he sent me yesterday.
He just gave you a blank form, is what he
Yes.
told me he was
Yep.
gonna do. So
Yep, that's
nothing
what
was
it was.
filled out,
Yeah.
it was just a generic.
But I don't believe there was. Just an opportunity for them to bring the business back into town and then to do it with them in 3 years if we're gonna lease again.
I guess we can save a little money on it, I'd be in favor of doing something like that, as long as there's not a bunch of administrative fees and stuff in there. It'd definitely be worth looking at.
I'd like to see the breakdown, make sure there's not gonna be any extra cost to transfer it over. and what
Right,
the difference
the
in the rate is
administrative fees and,
before we approve
Yeah.
the movement.
The rate's not gonna last very much longer, that's what he told me in the email he sent me. Because they gotta get locked in, because
What
the rate's
rate?
actually gone up, the 2.35, he said they'll allow us to do it if we roll it over, but he can't hold that rate very much longer because the rates have gone up.
What is the rate we're paying right now?
I don't recall. I think it was just a little, I think it was like 2.4 or something like that.
And he's saying 2.35,
Yes.
so it's, yes,
that'd be very minimal
yeah, it
savings
is.
there.
I just would love to
Tell me
maybe
one
some kind of
person.
cost to
It would be-
refinance.
You would
You would
think so,
refinance
yeah.
the lease.
Depends on how aggressively they want it though.
True. We have the bus lease. Do we need to have the bus lease?
It should, we have it in the,
October is when we did it.
October, okay, on the website. Because it wasn't, I think I have it.
she's not October, you know.
What is it, special meeting?
If it would, would we have to have a special meeting if we wanted to do this? We don't want-
We could approve it based on, there, it's not here. We could approve it based on if there's no extra fees and, it's gonna save us money otherwise. That way we wouldn't have to meet again.
Go down and get it too.
I thought I had it in here. I seen it in the October meeting.
So I'm going down and get it.
Let me see if I can find it.
I mean, if it saves money and there's no administration fees, it's,
Yeah.
let's just do it depending on that. I mean, if it's a half of a percent, it's local.
Mhm.
It's not attached there.
So could we have a motion to approve moving the bus lease if there are no administration fees, and it's gonna save us a little money?
I'll
Okay.
second it.
Second?
Oh, yeah, that was done.
Then you'll just have to let us know.
Yeah.
Who moved? You, in the second?
I'll email,
Bill, yeah,
then I'll email all you guys
okay,
when I get it. We'll check through that tomorrow.
sounds good. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. So the motion carries. Out-of-state field trip.
Just need to have board approval for students to go out of state. The ag program, the Rockford North Butler FFA chapter is requesting permission to take a field trip on the 5th of February to Albert Lee, Minnesota. The FFA members will be participating in the swine judging contest that day. The contest consists of 5 different classes and 2 question classes. This is a great first judging experience for younger members to get their feet wet. Most livestock judging contests consist of giving oral reasons, and this makes many students nervous their first time. For this contest, students simply need to place their classes and hand in a scorecard. The students will also only be judging 1 species instead of the usual 3, so they are at an advantage when it comes to learning about 1 species at a time. After the contest, the results will be totaled and winners will be announced. There are prizes for the top individual judge and top team. teams consist of 4 members. They would like to open this opportunity up to all the Ag 1 students, which is animal science, and if there are other older members that would like to go as well, they are still eligible to attend. They would leave at about 7 a.m., it's about an hour and 15 minutes to Albert Lee. They get there about 8:15. Registration would be from 8 to 9, starts at 9:30. They'd have lunch at 11:30 at the fairgrounds. Results would be at about noon. Showtime would be about noon. They would leave up there about 1:30 and be back in Rockford about 2:45. I think the drive time's from Rockford, not from Green. So
How many students do we have?
About 15, 16, something like that. And then there's probably about the equal number at Rockford. One bus will take them from either, Allison, they'll go through Rockford. Mr. Hansen's a bus driver, his bus thing, so I think he's gonna be the one driving the bus. It's up in Albert Lee. They will be back by about 3. They'll leave probably 7:30, around there, be back around 3. He's done a great job with always finding ways to get things paid for, and he's got NIAC to pay for other field trips. We've done some pretty extensive ones. In this case, the NIAC does not pay for out-of-state trips.
but he was trying to get some funding from somewhere else too. He said he told me, I just don't remember what it was.
Okay, so that may come through.
So what's the potential cost to?
For us, it's a cost of a bus, cost of the transportation, half of the transportation, I guess.
So, it's a good opportunity. You just need the approval to go across state lines. So we could give it, but it's better to go through the board so everybody's aware of what's going on, and it helps with the insurance if the board knows what's going on.
So I need a motion to approve the ag field trip to Albert Lee.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Update on the policy 507.2.
This is just kind of an update on the policies. This came out from ISB in their primer. It's basically just administration of medication to students and talks more about the EpiPens. And there's also a policy is included as 804.5 that talks about stocking epinephrine for auto injector supply, and that's something that we'll need to decide if we want to have extra EpiPens on hand or not. With kids with allergies to nuts and things, I think it would probably be a good practice for us to at least have one extra EpiPen in each building. We do have one in this building that's got a pretty severe nut allergy. We have several others I know that carry EpiPens with them for other things too, and so I think it would be good to carry them.
Is that something normally the parents supply to the school then?
They are supplied. It's just a matter of, you never know if somebody doesn't have an allergy and might develop one, or has an allergy to like a bee sting or a wasp sting and gets bit out on the playground or something like that. Or they might not know they have an allergy to something. It might be the first time they're exposed to it here at school. And
I'm guessing cost on one of them can't be that great, is it?
they're expensive.
Oh, really?
How much? $400 each?
Yep.
Are we allowed to administer epinephrine to somebody that doesn't necessarily have it? I thought it.
They're Lindsay would train everybody, but they would have to have it. It would have to be in their file to administer it.
Like,
But
if I don't have an allergy and I don't know it, then I didn't necessarily sign the form saying that you can
Right.
administer it?
I think that would be left to medical personnel at that point.
Okay,
So
I just didn't know if it was worthwhile to have that on hand if most people.
But if their throat was closing,
yeah.
would you like them to give it to you or not?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, what would happen if you gave it to somebody and they didn't have an allergy or something else was going on? Would it hurt them necessarily or not? or-
Well, what's gonna happen is their heart's gonna race, their blood pressure's gonna go up, and whenever you get an EpiPen, you always have to call the ambulance. So then they would come and
So if they didn't necessarily need it, but you gave it to them,
it's not
it
gonna
wouldn't necessarily kill them, but.
No. But they're not gonna feel very good.
Okay.
So it's worth the risk of,
Right.
I'm not sure,
Better safe
it's
than
better
sorry.
to give them the pen and,
And that would be something, like I said, we'd have Lindsay make sure that everybody
Yeah.
on staff is trained.
Yeah.
Right now, it's just
But
basically the
yeah.
teachers that we know have those kids.
Mm.
And I'm sure most of those kids probably carry.
Yes.
deal with them, or have it with Lindsay.
Yes,
But they are expensive, they're
Yep.
like $400.
I think so, yeah.
I wouldn't have guessed
And
it being
then-
that high.
Is there like a release that you can do at registration for?
Yeah, that's something we could add
There
to.
is, if we do get them though, there is a website you can go to, it's, I could get it to Lindsay, it's like EpiPen and then you can get a discount on it.
Okay. I think eventually it'll be something that's required of us.
What I'm
to
saying
have.
though is at registration, isn't there a form where a parent?
They sign off on
No,
medication
they
anyway,
do,
so.
because what's gonna happen is, they aren't gonna care about any of that, they're gonna come back and say,
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
suing
you know how
you.
that, well,
I mean, that's the way it
we fill
is.
that form out and it says, is it okay if we give
Tylenol,
Tylenol or
those things, so
ibuprofen?
we could
You
add
could
right to that.
add
That's-
Yep.
Epi to it
Yep.
too.
Yeah.
To me, I think you have to cover your
Yes.
steps. I mean, unfortunately, that's the way the world become.
But I would say that would be something to add to that form.
Right.
I would agree.
In an emergency situation.
Right.
you're authorized
Are you
to-
okay in
Yep.
North Butler School District to?
Do what we gotta do to save your kid, possibly.
So basically tonight's just the first reading with this, and we'll bring it back next month, and we can go, I can get some more information on that from Lindsay too, so.
So you need a motion on the first reading?
Nope.
Okay.
Okay.
Early graduation requests.
We had two kids, for extenuating reasons, didn't get their applications for the graduation in. Dan? I don't remember who the second one is at the time.
It was Tyler Holm and Andrea Borman.
Okay, thank you. So,
Two close friends of mine.
yeah. So we just need to approve those two early graduations. I spoke to y'all on the phone about it, or most of you on the phone about it prior to Christmas break, so.
I make a motion to approve the graduations.
Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? So motion carries. Item 13, set the 16-17 calendar for public hearing.
We just need to set the public hearing for the calendar. I sent out the, what's basically a first draft to all of you. I've shared it with the administrative team. Next week, we're going to share it with the leadership team. The following week, we'll share it with the SIAC. And after we go through it with the leadership team, then we'll send it out to all staff. It's basically the same as this year, but we've added a couple of things. We've added 2 days for anybody new to the district so that we can go through all the forms and things with them. With the teacher leadership program that we'll have next year, they'll be able to sit down with our coaches and just other things to get adjusted to the district in the way that we do things here. It'll give us a chance to sit down and go through policy with them, how we do things, purchasing, things like that we haven't done in the past. So I think it'd just be a nice new way to do things with that. Yeah. But other than that, it's laid out basically like this year. If you look, April 4th right now is marked as a professional development day. We've talked about that in an administrative team. This year we're using April 6th to go to the one-to-one tech conference. And next year we thought we would move that day. We're not sure when it is yet. There's a reading conference that they have at UNI. So we thought we'd alternate years between a tech conference and a reading conference so that the elementary teachers can use that day to all go to the reading conference and we don't have to worry about not being able to get subs to fill in. Because this year we have a lot more teachers that want to go than we can get subs for to that reading conference. So we'll rotate that day between the tech conference and that so that those elementary teachers get the opportunity to all go as a team to the reading conference every other year. But other than that, it lays out just about identical to this year. We'd be done just before Memorial Day again. School would start actually on the 23rd of August. August 22nd is built in as a day where they wouldn't have to work. They could come in and work in their classrooms if they want, but it would be a day where teachers could finish up any last minute business that they need to finish up on their own, or they could come in and work in their classrooms or whatever they need to do. And it would also not give us a full week to start school, because having a full week to start school is really hard on both staff and kids.
I have one question.
Okay.
Can we notate the board meetings each month or?
This is more of just for when we have school, but we can notate them on the activities calendar that goes out.
We normally do. This year, that item didn't get on there, and wasn't sure if it was just an oversight or we didn't know exactly when they were, but this was the first year they weren't on there, and that was really an oversight.
We might be able to put a note on, in one of the boxes or at the bottom that board meetings are generally second Monday of the month at 6:30 or whatever, and we can do that. So,
Yeah, I didn't know if you could have
Yep.
each one color green.
well, if we put too many colors on there, it gets confusing.
True.
The other
I
thing
already
that
had to
has
change some
happened
of
in
them
the
because I
past, and
confused
Amy
the
brought up,
administrators.
is usually it's the same, but each year, I don't know if it's, is it every September, or is it only when there's an election year? Usually in September, sometimes that's when the meetings are set, and
Yeah.
sometimes they have, we put them on a Monday, and then it went to a Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But this year, I think there won't be a change in September typically, unless you guys decide to at any time.
Well, we have to have the annual meeting, that's when they're set, so.
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
But usually when we have the same board from year to year, they don't.
Okay.
But we need to set the public hearing for 6:30 on February 8th. Do it right at the start of the next meeting. Unless we want to move that meeting time. I'm just saying, they were talking about it before we started, so.
We could move the meeting time up, still have our public hearing at 6:30, depending on what's going on,
Yeah.
so. You need a motion to approve the 6:30?
Yes.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Motion carries. Item 14, speaker contract with Kevin Honeycutt on August of 2016.
It would be August 16th is the date that we've chosen to put that on. Kevin Honeycutt is a nationally renowned speaker, very motivational. He's a retired teacher who's on the school board in Kansas. I don't remember the name of the town, but he had a very rough upbringing. Some of our staff got to see him last year on January 2nd up in West Union. We went for professional development day up there. Heather was able to get him to Skype in with us for a half hour this year. Very, very good speaker. I could sit and listen to him all day long. He did speak at the school board convention a couple of years ago. It was the first time that I've heard him. But he'll come and he'll do a keynote for us, and he will then do different sessions throughout the day. We're working on getting some of our neighbors to participate with us. Red Rockford Marble Rock is very interested at this point, but it'd be a good way to kick off the year. And this would be paid for out of our teacher quality dollars. We've had a teacher quality meeting, and that was what was decided on, was how they wanted to spend some of the money for this year. So
What would it cost to have him come up?
it's $8,000 plus expenses.
Okay, he'd probably spend a night or two up here
He'd
someplace.
spend one night because he's got to fly out to Australia that afternoon.
Jeez.
He's gone a lot.
So we need a motion to approve the speaker contract with Kevin Honeycutt.
I make a motion to approve the contract.
Second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And that's another one I'm not
Opposed,
technically.
the same?
Sorry.
Motion carried.
I'm not technically sure if it needs to come before the board because it's teacher quality money, and that's decided on by that committee, but because of the $8,000, that's why it came in front of the board. It's one of those gray areas in the law.
Okay, the lighting in the bus barn.
Was approached by Pat and Will Wedeking. The lighting in the bus barn down here is horrible. We need to upgrade some outlets down there, and that was only going to be about $400. So I asked him to tie the two of those together so the outlets on the timer could come out of PEPL or 1 cent sales tax. The bid that he's given us it's like $5,630.25, and that is using LED lights. Will's looking right now to see if there's still a rebate through Mid-American on the LEDs. the nice thing with LEDs is they give off more light, they last longer, and we're supposed to be like a 25-year light. If we don't upgrade the lighting, we have to go through and we're gonna have to redo all the ballasts in there, which is, it's about a $2,000 cost anyway. So, I think
Plus the LEDs would run a lot cheaper.
yes. And I think the best choice is to go with the LEDs. They're gonna last longer and will be less expensive to run over the long term. And then if there's any rebate through Mid-American, then that's just kind of gravy on it, so.
Are we planning to buy new cords too? Heavy duty, more heavy duty?
Extension cords? I don't know what we have right now. They've been using what they're using since before I got here, so I don't know what they're using. But right now, if he plugs them in down here, they're on all the time, which really isn't good for him. And if he puts it on a timer, it'll start at like 3 o'clock in the morning. It'll be warm enough for him to start when they
I
get
was
here.
thinking maybe we should also look into the cords.
I can do
replace
that. I
the
mean,
cords and
replacing the cords is easy. He has them down at the hardware store here in town, or we can get them up in Green at Landers, so
Okay.
that's easy.
I don't think they're heavy duty cords.
I can check with Pat on that.
So if we're doing this,
It'd be a good time to
wanna
do it,
look
yes.
into the cords
Yep.
too.
Is it crazy to ask about solar?
No. I actually met with the guy
I mean-
this fall, and he's never gotten back to me.
There has
And
to
part
be
of that is,
rebates, right?
part of that is Rockford's tied up in litigation right now with whoever the city's buying their power from. Rockford had it all set up to put up a solar array because they have to buy through their city, and their city's on a 30-year contract with some company out of Nebraska. Right across the road from their school building is Mid-American, and they've gotten our rates and Nashville Plainfield's rates because we're with Mid-American. If they were with Mid-American, their electrical bill would be $76,000 less right now from August. So they are paying through the nose. They have gotten some pretty high-powered attorneys involved whose offices are actually right above Mid-Americans in Des Moines, and they've worked on this stuff before, so they're tied up in that. But especially down here, I think we have room for a solar array, so I think it'd be something we could look into. And then the other side of that, at least from the meeting that I have and what I've read from the state, is that for the lease time, the lease purchase time, you pay for the power through the lease purchase also. So that would come out of the PEPL or the 1 cent sales tax instead of the general fund, so you'd have some years of where you'd be saving on that electrical bill while you're paying for the solar array too.
I'm just wondering, like on a building like that, a separate standing, is that a good thing to do?
Well, if we were gonna do it, I'd do it for the whole campus here.
Right, but
And
I
then,
mean-
and then in Green, you know, something up, like at the high school, we could put something on the roof up there maybe. But it's definitely something I can look into, and I still have the guy's information, he's just never gotten back to me yet.
What kind of dollars would it cost to do something like that? Do you have any idea?
I have no idea, but I do know that the government's pushing it pretty hard, and I do know that there's some rebate type stuff with that also.
I looked
But
for
it's-
my house and it was like, it'd be $36,000 for our house to do it.
To put the solar stuff on, but you don't know what kind of rebates you would've got on that then?
There was some pretty good ones, but I can't remember, cause it's been a year ago or so.
There's
that I looked.
interest-free loans, I think, like
Yeah.
a school could get, I'm not sure about.
The guy that came was from Eagle Point Solar out of Dubuque, and they've done a lot of solar in the area, and they're actually the ones that got the state to change the rules on it being able to come out of the PEPL and being able to include it in the lease the power in the lease purchase. So I got his folder still sitting on my desk, so I can give him a call, and I just have been tied up with other
They
stuff, so I can,
the rebates expire at the end of this year. So I
Okay.
mean,
if we're gonna do it, we can jump.
wanted
Yeah.
to, they could renew,
Yeah.
but at this time, the energy credits expire at the end of 2016.
Right, so.
There's a company that's just.
It's just a
in
question.
Iowa.
Okay,
I
we're
mean-
looking
Yeah.
into.
Is it too, cause that's who
If I was
Okay.
gonna build a new house right now, I'd probably
Yeah.
do solar.
I'll check on that and see if we can get some information for next month.
Did you get any other quotes besides Buddy King's for this?
There's not many other people around to get quotes from. They've done all our work at both buildings here since I've been here, and well, since before I got here. They're really good about getting stuff done for us. You know, when we were doing the concession stand project, he did that at night and on the weekends.
He's here
And I know,
at different hours.
yeah, they've got
That works
quotes
for
from different
you
people in the
better than-
past, and Wood Kings are always
So this is,
very competitive, and usually beat.
And they do, if there's rebates and stuff, they do all the paperwork. We don't touch any of it. They just bring us the check.
Okay.
And usually if you need something done right now.
Mhm. like, well, Monday he was in the building, and then he came back yesterday because of all the commotion. But Dave called him Monday morning, and yesterday afternoon he came and he had to fix a couple of thermostats where we put the air conditioners and heaters in the rooms, like Connie Moss's room, so it would run automatically instead of having to mess with the thermostat all the time.
They need a motion to approve the bid for the lighting and redoing the bus barn.
I make a motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? So motion carries. Item 16, action on student immunization.
Lindsay had an audit from the state on immunizations, and we have, I think at this point, just 4 kids who have not got their immunizations. We've sent letters several times telling them that it's coming in front of the board, that their students may be expelled till they get the immunizations caught up, and they're still dragging their feet, so we need to decide if we want to expel those students till they get their immunizations taken care of, or in an effective date that will happen, or how we want to deal with it, correct?
Is it a?
Right.
is
Maybe
it
a
law?
temporary
Yes.
suspension.
Yeah, it's temporary suspension.
Temporary
Yeah.
suspension.
Yeah.
Is there certain reason for that?
They can either have the immunizations or they can bring in the exemption form signed. And they're not doing either.
Oh.
So it's and Lindsay has contacted them many times. I have contacted them. I have contacted them and told them that the board meeting was tonight, thinking, oh, if they've got a date, they'll
And-
kind of get moving.
And I also know that Lindsay sent them the schedule that county health does the shots, so they're
We've
just
tried to
not
make it
doing
easy.
Yep.
And I've called everybody personally
Yeah.
and
I think it's
Students
4 or 5.
don't have the shots, they still need to get the shots, or
Yes.
just for paperwork?
They
It
still
could
need to
be
get.
either,
Yeah,
but
either
it's
or,
usually
so.
that it's the paperwork, because Lindsay can look them up online if
Mhm.
they've had them in Iowa to,
And it's,
to get.
and it's kind of getting a little more important because there's several schools now that have mumps going around. And Enola had, I think, 6 or 7 kids out of their high school last week with mumps.
there are plenty of districts that they don't even let them in until you come to register, where's your immunizations? Well, when you get them, come back and see us.
I think
So-
what has become tricky, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, is that some of them you can get before preschool or kindergarten. Most families choose to do them before preschool, but some doctors, I don't know, it's just a family preference. So that's now where the kids are starting at age 4. We've got a little time to work with them, but then it's getting them to get them done, so.
So if they don't want to get them, like religious beliefs, or they just don't believe in them, there is a waiver they can sign.
Yeah, it has to be signed, I believe, by a doctor or notarized or something. I mean, it's more than just bringing in a form saying, I don't want
They have to
them.
go to the doctor.
Yeah, they have to get some paperwork done, so, and we have sent that paperwork home with families saying, here it is, I mean, we've tried to help them, but,
And then you said they could go to like the public health or something, so like if they don't wanna pay the copay to go to the doctor or something, they still could go get the shots, so that's not the problem.
and we've given them that contact information too, that, gosh, if this doesn't work with your schedule, they're the ones who do our audits, so they're the ones going, we'll work with them, we'll make it work, but they have to take that initiative, so, guess we need some.
I printed off our board policy, and it does say that if the families are notified by the superintendent, that we do have the grounds to suspend, so, or deny admission.
So if we expel them, suspend them, whatever, what happens if they just absolutely refuse to get their shots, bring the paperwork in, then they're just out of school?
They
or-
stay suspended until they get it done.
And then it becomes probably a courthouse matter.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it
Because it
becomes
then
a
becomes an attendance
denial
matter.
of attendance
Okay.
and, yeah. My past experience has been that because I've dealt with this with other families before, is that if they know they are on the agenda for a closed session hearing on this date, that, it's not just a blanket thing, but gosh, you now have 4 weeks because our next meeting is this date and this is when we're gonna determine if your child's going to be expelled, it's always gotten done. But, just the threat of it being brought to
That meeting with the county attorney over attendance usually doesn't go very well for them either.
Right.
And then if it were a special ed child, then the parent could be in trouble for denying their kid their services too.
Well, I was on the list, and when I got a call from Mr. Hunt, I went and got it done. So I feel like maybe the parents are just being defiant, and they just, so.
Right. But it is an easy oversight. I mean, as a parent, if your kid has been healthy and you haven't had to go into the clinic, you know, because that's how my kids usually were, is it was when we went in, they went, oh, by the way, your kid's ready for some shots. I mean, I wasn't keeping it on my personal calendar, it was just kind of a reminder, and we purposely called parents right before Christmas break saying, hey, you've got a couple weeks now, you know, a week and a half off, that maybe you can get them in, and so.
Seems like most of the high school ones, just because I would hear, I didn't know a whole lot about it, but there's an age apparently, 7th or 8th grade, where there's that next shot.
Yeah.
That there's a pretty good window to get that in, and all of a sudden, hey, by this year, I don't know, that's what it sounded like.
And
There
a lot
were
of
people who had them all up to date, but this last, I don't know what it was, Lindsay said it, that makes sense.
And a lot changed on that one about, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, that now they have to have it at freshman year, or they can't get in.
I guess my cynical question was, if my kid's immunized and your kid's not immunized, why am I worried about it? Because if the immunization,
Right.
the shot's working, it shouldn't bother my kid, right?
Right, right.
So if the parents don't wanna have their kid get a shot, that should be their choice, but.
Right, and they don't have to have them,
Yep.
they just have to have the signed paperwork.
We have to have it, because otherwise we're,
Yep.
Yeah, because it's
We're
a,
not in compliance with
it's a
state.
mandate.
Right,
Mhm.
so yeah, at that point, they just gotta do the paperwork then.
Right,
Okay.
right, yeah, I don't care if they have it or not. I mean, they have to know if they choose an exemption, that if there's an outbreak, their child might not be allowed in school
Yes.
because they're at risk, or because they're at risk for bringing it in, but that's between
Yeah,
them and their
I
doctor,
think
I don't care.
there's some that I know I read that if they're exposed to it, their child can't come to school for 30 days.
Mhm.
I wanna think that exemption's not a very easy thing.
It's
I don't
like-
think it's just a matter, hey, I don't wanna do it. I think
No.
it's, you gotta go through a whole,
yeah, thing.
I think it's, you gotta prove that this is
Yep.
your
Right.
religion, and it's not just, hey, I don't believe in that. I don't think that's enough, but I may be wrong.
It depends on the physician.
Well, to me, it sounds like you guys have gone up
Yeah.
above and beyond to try and get it done, so I guess I would say that they should be suspended until they get it done.
So we need a motion to approve the expulsion or suspension?
Just
temporary
Temporary suspension,
Effective February 1st.
okay.
Or when's our next,
Next board meeting is the 8th.
I think it has to be closer.
I was gonna say, I think it has to be in a closed session,
I've
isn't
never
it,
heard
that
of
you?
Not for a suspension.
Oh, okay, okay,
Only if there's a disciplinary hearing.
okay, okay.
So we give them until February 1st or February 8th to get the paperwork in?
February first, and then if they don't turn paperwork in by
Then
February
we'll have
first,
it
they
on the-
come to the meeting
We'll
on
have them on
February eighth,
the agenda for the 8th.
or they don't have to do that, or a closed session.
We'll figure it out by then.
Okay,
Okay,
but that will help us to have a date to give them.
Yes.
okay.
This is the date,
Yep.
otherwise you're facing it.
But that gives us time to get on the agenda too, or if our
Yeah.
24-hour notice and
Yeah.
stuff, so. Okay, so we need a motion to approve the temporary suspension
So how,
policies.
how are we gonna word this in minutes, just so we're suspending the kids right now or not until February 8th?
February 1st.
February 1st. They've got till February 1st to get the shots or get the paperwork in here.
They won't be suspended until after our board meeting on February eighth, right?
No, they would be suspended effective 1st.
I think it's just, I'd say it's per board policy, basically.
Yeah.
And actually, then after, what, 5 days or 10 days, then it would become that they have to come, right?
Yep.
Because the suspension can't last longer.
Longer than 10 days,
without
yep.
board policy.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not sure, I know there's something.
Yeah, we can't suspend for more than 10 days, so then at that point, it would have to come before the board to expect to suspend it longer. So those hearings would be on the 8th,
Okay,
because it has to happen within that 10-day window.
fair enough. I have a motion to approve those suspensions, temporary suspensions. Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? The motion carries.
So I'm gonna put in here to temporarily suspend students without current immunization or waivers on file effective February 1st.
Per board policy.
Yeah.
Per board policy, okay. Got it.
Okay, agreement on repeater tower.
I had a conversation with Troy Feldman. Our repeater currently sits on his land and on his tower. He takes care of all the electricity, the FCC fees for renewing the license and that. So we sat down and talked and discussed what would be fair, and we came to conclusion that $500 a year would be a fair agreement to use the repeater and tower. He pays for the band that we use and all that, so I think that would be fair. We just need to approve it. We had our attorney drew up the paperwork for it, and we have a contract to sign, so.
Did you just donate it before? then?
Yes. Yep. So my understanding is the cost of renewing the license must have went up a little bit, and then the electricity's kind of gone up a little bit on it too, I think.
So we need a motion to approve the agreement for the repeater tower with Troy Feldman.
Make a motion.
Second,
I'll second it.
all in favor say aye. Opposed, the same. The motion carries.
And just a note on that, I think we're gonna have to put up another repeater down here somewhere, because we're still having problems contacting the buses even after the new radios were put in December. So we'll probably look at that. I don't know who owns the tower out here, if it's ours or somebody else's, but that would be a really good place to put it. So I'll have to do some research on it. Nobody seems to know.
Okay. Somebody get on
So-
top of the water tower, of the sheriff's tower or something, and get it up higher? Or?
Maybe, if that's a possibility, and talk to Jason, see if that's something we can do.
Okay.
But the guy that fixed the radios thought that if going to the digital radios didn't help, that would probably take care of it for us.
The repeater.
Yep.
So in
Okay.
the past, we didn't pay for it, he donated it.
Yes.
Item 18, the drainage issues in the Allison building with waterproofing out for bid.
We've had issues with water coming into the server room back here. And
It's really bad. If you
it,
guys
it, it
turn
comes out into
around,
the carpet.
see where that line is on the carpet there, where that footstool is? Like that whole back room is filled with water and it comes all the way out to the steps and out there.
So I've had modern builders up here. They talked to an engineer finally today, and then I got the email on this. I attached the maps, or the one map to the board agenda here. This is the map for what is phase one, and phase one here, basically what they would do is they would dig a trench 2 feet wide and 4 feet deep right next to the building, and they'd waterproof everything on the foundation of the building down to the footers. Then the engineer is suggesting that we also put a sump pump back in this room for anything that may still be under the building or that comes in from somewhere else. But the problem that we have right now is that the drains off the roof go underground out here into a tile, and that tile has some clay tile in it, and then it has some plastic tile in it, and there's places where the clay tiles collapse, there's places where the plastic tiles collapsed. And it comes together at a T out here in the center of the yard, and then it runs back here to the building down by the entryway where it's collapsed again, and that drain is actually full of dirt. It's going to be a fairly drawn-out process, and we can do it all at once, or we can do it in a couple of steps. But the scope of work on this piece where they're doing the trenching and the waterproofing, they've put a budget on it at about $10,640. They would do the bidding on that.
Can you repeat that?
The cost, I'll just send you this. That's easier. 10,640 was the cost. And then the extra proposal as an alternate is the sump pump in there is about $38,630. Talking to Marty, the fees for them to be the project manager and for the engineer will be about $3,500, he thought. The second part of this is we're pretty sure that currently all that drains into the city sanitary sewer, which is a big no-no. They did not like it very much when we found out that the parking lot out here was draining into the sanitary sewer, and we had to run it to the left end of where that line is back, where we have a tile coming off from the ball fields back there behind the school on the west side of the school. So we would tile all the way around there, around the end of the parking lot, so we don't have to dig up the parking lot. We'd have a couple of sidewalks that we'd have to replace at least sections of. And he thought that part would probably be about a $12,000 project. The trenching along the building, they thought they could still do during school. The tiling, we thought we'd probably have to wait till school was out to do, just because the sidewalks are going to have to be torn up. we could do the part where we put the sump pump in to help keep this room dry first, and then do the waterproofing and the tiling after school's out in the summer. That would help. I had Drollies come down and take some measurements on tearing the carpet out of this server room back here and putting tile in, just because it's gonna take it better, and the tile, or the carpet back here starting to smell musty from the water coming in, and it's come in. My understanding in talking to Dave is that it only happened one time in the past when they'd gotten like 10 inches of rain over a short period of time. And then it happened this fall when we got the 5 inches of rain over a matter of a few hours. And then every time it's rained since then, it's come in just because it's given it a path to get underneath there. And part of it is that the round tile in the box out there too, not only is it backing up, but there's a round tile in a square box and water's going around that. And when it was raining heavy the one day I went out there, and you can see the water just running right out of that box, and I'm sure it was running back underneath the building there.
Well, and if the tiles are collapsed, it's not gonna run down through the
No,
program
there's,
anyway.
there's nowhere else for it to go. But that looks like at this point the best option, unless we were to not drain it underneath the ground and drain it all on top somewhere, but there's no storm sewers out here anyway to take it. We'd have to do a lot of grading out here to get it all to run away from the building, because the building back here is the low spot, and there's a high spot across the yard all the way up that hill.
They guarantee this then? Do they guarantee this?
Well, right now it's just looking to put it out for bids.
Oh.
So we just need approval to
I
put
just
it
know
out for bids.
sometimes when they waterproof your basement or other, they'll guarantee it. So
Yes.
if it doesn't work, because I don't know if what you're saying, waterproofing, is that the same?
It
thing
would
where they
be,
coat the
what's it
outside
say?
wall? I mean, if it doesn't work, we'd wanna maybe look for somebody who would,
It says
Just-
supply and
just
install
the-
rubber wall coating.
Just waterproofing the wall though, without doing the drainage, I doubt they would
Yeah.
guarantee
Yeah,
anything,
right.
because you've gotta get
you
rid of
have
that
to do all
water.
of it,
Yeah.
right?
And they would use clean rock to backfill the trenches, reseed where needed, but they'd use gravel on top of the tile and everything,
Yeah.
so it would drain better, not
You-
plug and collapse.
The tile in the server room, what was the cost?
Don't know yet, they just
Oh,
came,
you don't
they were
have
here and
one.
measured Monday night.
Okay.
Dave was gonna try to get it out, the carpet out of there over Christmas break, and there just with snow and everything else, he wasn't able to get it out, he was moving snow and had a couple other projects that he had to get taken care of and had to be done before we came back, so. But, I mean, if we wanna bid it out to do it all at once, or do the alternate first, I mean, I don't need board approval to have them put the sump pump in there, I think it's a good idea no matter what.
It's already happened 4 times in a short period of time, that room has filled up
Yes.
with water, so I think there
Yep.
needs to be a more immediate solution.
Yeah, so I think we can go ahead, if we wanna go ahead with the sump pump, then we can bid out the other two to be done. At least with the sump pump in there, we wouldn't have to worry about vacuuming the water up 6 times a day if it rains. And then that'd get us to summer where they could do the rest of the work. And we could bid it out and we can bring bids back at the February board meeting, so that come day school is out that following Monday, they can be in here digging. So that would be my suggestion.
Sounds good. So we need a motion to approve the sump pump right away, and then get bids for the rest of the project.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? The motion carries.
That's one of those, it's never a dull moment.
The calendar change for the Alice training.
We just need to decide which day that we are going to have school, that we weren't going to have school because we changed the calendar for the Alice training, which I think went over really well. I definitely appreciate the board coming, I know the staff did too, we had four of you down here, and 2 of you participated up in Green, so got a lot of nice feedback on it. I really wish we didn't have to worry about it, but we do, so. My suggestion would be that we had February 15th on President's Day set up as a snow makeup day, and I would suggest that we use that day right now as makeup, because I'm sure we're probably gonna have another snow day between now and then we can use the day in March on the 29th as a makeup day for that, so. I would say that I would suggest we schedule February 15th at this point as the makeup for that day that we didn't have school.
I make a motion to use February 15th as the day.
Okay, second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? The motion carries. Item 20, the board resolution on funding the legislature advocacy.
This always just, all I would like is for the board to make a motion that the legislature and governor set our supplementary state aid at a adequate level in a timely manner. And then we will type something up, have you sign it, and we will send it down to all our legislators and the governor.
I'll make a motion to do that.
Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. So motion carries that the legislature should do what they're supposed to do anyway.
Well, it should have been done last February.
I know that.
Okay. All right. Human resources.
Okay, and human resources, any resignations?
We just have Dave Thorne's early retirement. Why is that not coming up now? Okay, personnel items, we have Dave Thorne's early retirement. We have 3 coaches, Ross Hawker is assistant high school track coach, that would be for both boys and girls. Travis Miller for junior high boys track coach. Adam Anthony for junior high girls track coach. We need to do a contract for Gene Schnander for driver's ed, and then we have Emily McNeil for a substitute teacher. But we just want to approve all those together.
Any questions on those recommendations? If not, I need a motion to approve the list for retirements, coaches and subs.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Motion carries. Administrative reports.
I'll go ahead and get started. Since our last meeting, the 5th and 6th grade students did a nice job on their winter concert on December 14th. It seems like a long time ago, but they did a nice job. In December, our PTO sponsored the Santa Shop. Students were able to shop for their parents and family members. All the gifts were $1. It was not a fundraiser, rather more of just an activity and an opportunity for the students. They have a great time. It is so fun to see them walking with their bags in the halls and how excited they are. Last week, Mr. Clark organized the geography bee for the district. This is for grades 5 through 8. They take some tests to see who qualifies prior, and then they have kind of some final rounds. So I can't remember exactly. I guess I didn't count chairs. I think it gets down to 30, and then they get down to the top 10 for the final round. So that's for grades 5 through 8, and congratulations to 8th grade student Colby Wilkerson, who had the first place finish. Jump rope for heart will be starting for grades 2, 3, and 4. We had our kickoff for that last week, but the actual program takes place during PE classes, which I like how we do it here. Then all kids actually participate in the jump rope for heart activities, and as a family they can choose or not whether they want to collect donations and help raise money for the American Heart Association, but they all get to do the Jump Rope for Heart event here at school. Joel already talked briefly about the Alice training, but I thought it was very successful. It brought up a lot of questions. We have a lot more conversations to have district-wide, and I know we've had a lot already in the elementary, just on-the-fly conversations, not big staff meeting type ones yet, but talking about intruders is very different when you look at a 4-year-old versus a 12th grader. So how we're going to teach that to our little ones in a safe, non-threatening way, I guess. This last month I've attended 2 different conferences regarding kind of the teacher leadership program, the TLC grant that we received. One program was a half a day at the AEA, and Heather and I went to that together, and that was put on by Diane. Well, the AEA put it on, but Diane Sweeney was the main speaker. She's kind of a guru in coaching, and got a lot of good ideas. There was a lot of things that afterwards Heather and I went, ooh, I'm glad I heard that, because I'm not sure I would have thought about it like that. So that was excellent. And then a bunch of us went to another conference that was put on by school administrators of Iowa, as well as ISEA, talking about hiring for the TLC positions, and that was also excellent. So it is nice to learn from some of the schools that are already up and running, and that, I mean, if we we have to find some bonuses from not having it the first year. We're learning from their mistakes, because there were a lot of things that they said that were, don't do it like this, because we're still paying the price, because we started it like this and then it got some bad perceptions going. Or, you know, here's some things that we learned in round 2. So it's nice to learn from them and how we can implement, you know, with a good start, I guess. This is in Mrs. Holmes' report later too. As you know, we've spent a lot of time in the elementary as well as the junior, senior high looking at new reading curriculum. Mrs. Holm provided the staff with spreadsheets to go through to guide the selection, because it's not an easy thing. You look at interventions, you look at technology, you look at, you know, all the different components of a reading series, and now we're kind of getting down to the final. I think we have a top 2 now. So Mrs. Holm and I are meeting with grade level teams to kind of just chat it over now. And a lot of them have taken the time to contact other school districts that they know use one program or the other to find out what they felt the pros and cons were, as well as we've looked at some of the data, of course, going with that. We've started looking at some of our Iowa assessment scores. Really, the elementary, they got their classroom data right before Christmas, but they really had their first look at it today, because we already had some reading things scheduled with some companies coming in to present. I spent my time today in our PLC teams primarily with 5th and 6th grade. Heather bounced between the other 2. Overall, our scores look good. I think Mr. Foster will show those later in Mrs. Holmes' report. You know, I'll be upfront and honest that we were not very happy with our 5th grade scores. Our 5th grade scores took a pretty big dip, and we have a lot of examining to do. I will tell you, it aligns with some of our other scores, and we're able to analyze that data and come up with some rationale, but we still didn't like the scores. It's a, I don't mean it is what it is, but it's the data we have that we need to move forward with. So we're taking a close look at those. Fast testing will begin next week. It actually opened in the state this week, but our schedules this week were really kind of helter-skelter, so we decided that next week would be a better week, that we could do that more consistently and fluidly rather than having it so choppy. And we've reached the end of the first semester, which is kind of a scary thought, and report cards and Iowa assessment results will go home with students on Friday. I know at the elementary we've traditionally saved those until parent-teacher conferences, just so that we could go over the results with parents of Iowa assessments, but with conferences being a bit later this year, we decided to go ahead and send them home now, and we will still go over them at the March conferences to answer any questions. So I think that's it for the elementary.
Thank you, Ms. Whitaker.
You're welcome.
I'm going to try to be as brief as I can. Had a wonderful event last night, kind of throughout the top of Iowa conference. There was the idea of having a deal working with the American Cancer Society, an event at all schools called Coaches versus Cancer. And the North Butler event was last night at the games, the boy-girl games with Central Springs. Part of that involved selling some shirts that talked about that with Coaches versus Cancer, and there was money built into the sale of the shirt to raise money for the supporting cancer, and that effort raised about $800. Our dance team designed a dance specifically for this event, and then did what's known as the bucket challenge. And the dancers, after their dance, and this is kind of something that's thought of by the American Cancer Society, there's this thought that every 45 seconds someone is diagnosed with cancer. So the dancers went up into the crowd with these buckets, and the timer was set to 45 seconds, and it counted down, and people were asked to donate to support cancer research, and through that effort more than $400 was raised. So overall about $1,200 was raised last night, and it stays low. It's going to be donated locally to the Butler Counter Relay for Life, which is held here in the summer at the fairgrounds. I want to really acknowledge Todd, the athletic director, our basketball coaches, players, cheerleaders, and Kim. They honored some of our staff members who are currently or have battled cancer at the game. And our dance team, Erin Drolly is a volunteer coach. She does a great job, and Tina helps out with the dance program quite a bit. Great event. It was just a really neat thing for the community. Once again, it seems like 6 months ago, but the band and Christmas band or winter band and choir concert was an excellent event. 7-12 together was really neat. Our staff really appreciated the opportunity to be involved in the ALICE training, and and have the time to really do it right, and it was great that we had the people there from the different counties, their emergency management coordinators do that. It really worked out well. Also got a lot of compliments. It was really neat to see you guys there too. That was neat. Our custodians really did a great job over the winter break and continue to do a great job. I think the buildings looking really nice right now. Our semester tests were also completed last week. Our report cards and Iowa student assessment results will be mailed out to parents this Friday. We also give the kids a report card on Friday, and we also today gave them a copy of their individual Iowa assessment results. We have an open campus during the semester exams for 9th through 12th graders. What that means, we kind of set up a schedule where there are 4 exam periods each day that last about 70 minutes with a 30-minute flex time in between that. And if students don't have tests, they're welcome to leave campus, come back. It's a time where they have to demonstrate some responsibility because they get some extra freedom there. But it's worked well. A lot of schools do it. I think it really kind of primes them for the notion of semester tests. If they were to go on to college, they'll certainly experience them. We're excited. This Saturday is our annual North Butler Invite. That tournament's been going on for many years. The Green Invite. Prior to that, it's a well-established tournament. 4-time state finalist, and he's a 2-time champ, 1969 grad from Green, Doug Trees. This year will be inducted in the Iowa State Wrestling Hall of Fame at the state tournament in March. This Saturday at the North Butler Invite, North Butler is going to recognize and honor Mr. Trees with a plaque at the tournament. We've also, among the athletic staff and coaches, have decided to rename the North Butler Invite to the Doug Trees Invitational, and he will be there this Saturday. We expect some of his 69 classmates and other folks. Doug right now has a grandson on the wrestling team and would be maybe a great nephew on the team. So